Hello, everyone. Welcome. This evening, we will be exploring the topic of fire and darkness and working with the dark goddesses, which is actually not something I expected to be hosting a modern priestess meeting about. So first of all, let me welcome everyone and share my gratitude for everyone who is here with us live. And for everyone who couldn't make it live and watching the replay, thank you for being here as well. I'm doing things a little bit differently tonight, and I'm just going to allow this to flow. I took limited notes on what we would be on how I would be presenting this discussion. I do have. Well, before we get into that, let me share a little bit about the modern priestess movement. My name is Katie Burke. I see a few new names here, so it's very nice to meet you. Please introduce yourself. And I see we have a few questions tonight that I will be getting to. A lot of questions. Beautiful. I can't wait to get to your questions. The modern priestess movement. This concept came to me last year with so many awakening women and light workers and earth angels coming into adulthood and childhood and being born on the planet now. Pretty much everybody incarnating at this point, in my opinion, is quite us, is here to be of service. So I believe if you are attracted to my work, that applies to you as well. And this balance of self-mastery in addition to service, spiritual service, service in just being who you are, which is enough, comes with an accelerated path of initiations that we, in communion with our higher self, put ourselves through. This past weekend was such a weekend for me where I gave myself a very, very traumatic experience in my family. Very traumatic, physically traumatic experience, which there's a lot of different types of trauma, right? So when the dark goddess comes to work with us, and she presented herself to me, the dark goddess goes by many names and many different beings that assist with this type of alchemy, with this type of self-mastery. And the being that made herself known to me was Sekhmet, who is a feline, very much associated with ancient Egypt. And if you know my work at all, you know how drawn I am to ancient Egypt, and many of my guides come from that Syrian star system and ancient Egyptian lineage. So it didn't surprise me that my initiation into working with the dark goddess came in the form of Sekhmet. So Sekhmet showed herself to me this weekend and explained to me what her purpose was and why the dark goddess is there for us to lean on, her. So I'm going to just be speaking from my personal experience with the being Sekhmet. There's a lot of other women who talk about shadow work, who talk about the dark goddess in ways that don't always resonate with me, which is why I said at the beginning of this call, I'm quite surprised that I'm even talking about this topic, because it's not one that has usually held my interest for very long, and not one that I've ever really found to be very helpful for me personally, actually. Even as I was exploring my subconscious or the things inside of me that needed to be healed, I never found personally for any of the material about the dark goddess to be especially helpful for me, as at least helpful yet. And then that time came where it was helpful. So I'm here to share a bit about my experience with that and what that was like. So I am going to jump into that, share a bit of my story and a bit of the visions and the things that I was led through this weekend in working with Sekhmet. And then I will be happy to get to your questions. But I am probably going to keep this to be a pretty brief call, or a pretty brief live stream tonight. So if you do have questions, please go ahead and get those submitted in the questions and answers section on Crowdcast. If you're watching the replay on YouTube, please feel free to comment. So I'm just keeping an eye on the chat box. Why don't I just go ahead and post the link to our Facebook group in the comments now. And then I can get started because it looks like that's coming up in the chat. So please feel free to join, and there are some other women who can just go ahead and let you in there, and I'll be happy to do that right after the call as well. Yeah. Okay, so now that that's posted and taken care of, just want to see if there's any other housekeeping. I don't think so. I think we can go ahead and dive in. So what ended up happening this past weekend, and congratulations for making it through the energy of this past weekend. The new moon in Pisces and the solar eclipse we were having was very intense for me personally. So not just because of the events that we were having, but it just felt like my nerve endings were exposed or something. It was quite quite an intense energetic weekend for me. You could really feel the electromagnetics just kind of spazzing or something, I'm not sure. But it was a very intense weekend, and my weekend started, I was supposed to have a new moon call with the just outstanding cohorts in my Modern Priestess Mystery School. We meet on the new moon, and was about to start preparing for that call when my kitty, my cat Syrian, had gotten out the night before, and I hadn't slept well because I was thinking about him and how he'd gotten out of the house, and I was very concerned about him. And so I got up early and decided to go for a walk to look for him throughout my neighborhood because he usually comes right back, and he didn't this time. So I left and went for my walk, and I talked to a few neighbors, and didn't see any sign of my cat. And I knew as I was walking home that my cat, and his name is Syrian. So I knew Syrian's going to be there. Syrian will be there. He made his way back home. And this was my mantra as I walked home. He will meet me at the back door. And so I turned the corner to my backyard, and Syrian had made it home, but he had been hit by a car. So he was very, very injured. And I needed to, and I'll just spare the details, but it was very graphic what had happened to him. And I couldn't even believe that he made it back to my house, but he did. And I immediately got him a bowl of water. He had been out all night, so I got him a bowl of water and quickly took care of having to cancel the call that I was about to host, and just get in touch with a few people to let them know that I was about to be going to the animal hospital with my cat. And I said out loud as I was speaking to my guides, asking, pleading, praying for a speedy recovery and I knew at that point that Syrian would need to be put to sleep. The damage done to his head and his body was just so severe. So I took him to the animal hospital, and unfortunately he did need to be put to sleep, but I was with him when he crossed over. I was holding him. And so it was a very traumatic start to this weekend for me. And I found myself, as I was praying out loud and asking my guides to be with me and be in the car, help me focus on driving, help me stay calm, help me keep my cat calm, that I found myself asking for Sekhmet. And so I so Sekhmet came into my life that weekend. And it is sad. I'm reading the comments and I know this is sad, but we're talking about the dark goddess and the ways that she works with us. So I knew it wouldn't be the most upbeat modern priestess meeting I've ever held. I'm just trying to be as authentic as I can with my experience from this past weekend. So the rest of the weekend was a very intimate look into the ways that I still am personally blaming myself or thinking that I am a victim of my circumstances. And the dark goddess comes in, and the lineage of Sekhmet, and I mean the lineage, the priestess lineage. There were mystery schools in the name of Sekhmet. And what she can help us do, this dark goddess, she has a, God, the word coming to mind is vengeance about her. She was giving me visions of her actually with her fangs coming and ripping parts of my body away from me and spitting them on the ground, and coming back and ripping out more of my physical body and spitting it on the ground. And what she would spit on the ground looked like very graphic, dead parts of myself, of my physical body. So it would look like kind of a dark purple, like a struggling organ that she just grabbed and just like spit it out. And then she would say kind of what it was that she was ripping away. And so victimhood, which just like ripped a piece of me and put it on the floor. It was painful. It was a really emotionally painful experience. And one of the women, let's see, I don't remember the name of the woman who asked. We will get to it. Asked about physical pain, and so because of the incident that I had with my cat, now I'm sure everyone watching this is quite an empath. So when you see something traumatizing, which I actually keep myself very shielded from. I don't watch television. I barely go to movies, except I saw like La La Land. And so I'm not exposed to, I choose not to expose myself to really any media anymore. And I'm perfectly happy with that. But it was so graphic for me to see my cat, my little family member, in so much physical pain that I felt myself taking on that physical pain that can happen when we just become so attached, right? So this physical pain that I was feeling around my jaw and the places that he had been hit, it was very physical. It was a very, I felt very nauseous all weekend when I was going through a lot of these things. So, but what I learned and what I was being guided on is that this element of fire that we can invite in to help us keep moving through that pain and through the things that were coming up, the very hateful, self-hateful feelings that I was experiencing, the things that I was saying to myself, gave me enough awareness. Sekhmet and my guides were reminding me that we're moving through it, not going around it. We're moving through these emotions, and it hurts when we decide to take on so much so quickly and just really plow through and make a decision that that I was not going to be speaking to myself in this way anymore. Some of the things that were coming up, the inner dialogue coming up of feeling, so irresponsible for letting my cat get out, and all of, just many, many different things that went much deeper than that. But really loving myself, loving the parts of myself that I had found to be unlovable before. I really needed to create the space for that to happen. So another guide that I feel like I was working with just as much was the Ascended Master Kuan Yin. So it it was a very interesting weekend of allowing Sekhmet to come in, be and light a fire for me, help guide me through questions and conversations with myself. An enormous strength, physical strength that she can provide, and the spirit that the life, the fire that she can ignite to keep that energy moving so that it does not stay stagnant. So this is a key learning that she imparted to me. That fire, if you want to think, she was really using my physical body a lot in my meditations. So and I think I'll do, what I'll do, she gave me a guided meditation that I wrote down as I was doing it. I was writing pieces of it down. I will consider recording that and posting it in the Facebook group. I don't feel like getting into that right now, and I would like to be in a different environment and space to do that the way that I would like to. So I think what I'll do is I'll record that and then post it separately in the Facebook group. So, but she was using my physical body and really encouraging me to visually light myself on fire, that it was just time to just, anything that needs to go can go. Anything that I'm still attaching to this physical body, any identity with this matrix that I've created, and this being the only experience that I'm having, it's time for that to go. And time to really accept, not only remember, because I am gifted in really knowing who I am, but being it and not holding on to any more that is allowing me to, I hate the term like play small, but that's kind of what's coming up. Anything that's holding me back from impeccable standards and discipline and excellence, and the honor to be a priestess in this lifetime, a modern priestess in this lifetime. So she was very much encouraging me to visually light this body on fire. And I spent a lot of time by my fire pit this weekend, just watching the fire. And that's a lot of how I spent my time this past weekend. And what I noticed, especially with even the old wood in my wood pile that I would throw on, is that it really didn't even burn. It just turned to this pure white ash. And that was very much how I saw this process of working with Sekhmet and working with the dark goddess, this anger and rage that can come up when we realize how long we've been battling our addiction to suffering, or battling an addiction to a certain way of being, certain thought patterns that we have, attachments to different thought patterns, attachments to different identities. She was really inviting me. She doesn't come in and do this for you. She comes in and sits next to you. So it's not, when I talk about these guides that I work with, or these beings that guide me, is not surrendering for them to do any sort of inner work for me. They just come and help me ask the right questions, and they remind me of who I am. But the work, this dancing in the dark, dancing with the flames, this is very much all a solo inner excavation. And there's no, I don't have anyone in my, I'm very well supported with family and such a supporting divine masculine husband, and many, many friends. And I just say that because there was no one that could do this for me. There's no one that can do this for me. Very much reminded me of childbirth. When you go into childbirth and you kind of have that moment of, holy shit, I have to give birth. alone. There's no one who can do this for me. There's nobody who can feel this for me. There's nobody who can push through this for me. I'm doing all of it. And sometimes that's, I guess, a natural process. It's a natural feeling to have. And so she kept inviting me to visualize setting myself on fire and watching my body burn away. And as it does, and it would turn to this white ash, and all that was left was white and a being, as an aura, an energy field, a movement, sacred geometries, all of what I know that I am. And she was really inviting me to know it even deeper. So all of the things that don't serve that light being that I am and that you are, it was time for that to be turned to ash and to be blown away. And so this process requires moving and a commitment to move through it, and accepting that there are parts of you that can fall away and it will be okay. And accepting that if you are working with your most authentic feelings, if you stop, I even found myself realizing that I was lying to myself in certain ways. And it was just, we have so much viral programming, so much societal programming of things that I say that I can't do, that I couldn't do. And it just was like, came in and clicked of like, why are you saying that? Why are you saying that part? That's not true. So this kind of work with Sekhmet, it was very fast. Her energy works very, very fast. It's like, I don't even know. I mean, when I think of fire, just like engulfing like a field of dry grass, it was just like, came through really strongly and really quickly and with a lot of heat and a lot of energy. And, and there's not even part of me that even wants to invite anyone on this call to do this. That's actually not even why I'm doing this meeting. I think I just want to share one way, one experience that you can tap into to know that if you feel any of those dark goddesses stepping forward to work with you after going through a traumatic situation, they are there to help guide you to your truth. And sometimes that comes with the feelings about it. And so they have such a strength. And I'm just going to speak about Sekhmet specifically, so strong in her truth. And, so Sekhmet is, I see her as half lion and a feline, so like a cat, but humanoid. What's really potent about animal medicine, and why I think, in my understanding of her, is why she presents herself this way, as being half cat, is that a cat, a big cat, a lion, a house cat, the reason I love cats is because a cat knows who she is and what she wants and when she wants to do it, and period. So there is that's beautiful cat medicine, that's beautiful animal medicine, is that there's no compromising of who they are. That never happens. That doesn't ever process for them. They would never even consider to alter who they are for the sake of another being. There's so much authenticity with our animals and animal guides. So I believe that is part of the reason that she manifests herself with this feline complexion that she has, an energy. So let me check in here and take a few deep breaths and see if there's anything else that I want to share about that. It feels like There's a lot of it. Let me just take a moment. So our anger and our rage are there to act quickly. Fire, burn it. It's done. That was something she was very adamant about, is they're not going to sit and soak in the frequency of rage and of anger. We're going to work through that and appropriate. We're not going to, but we're going to surrender to the pace of anger, which is actually a pretty quick pace. When you feel angry, sometimes you start speaking even faster, and you have more energy, and you just start moving a bit faster, and that's really natural. So allowing that to come through and work at the pace that anger works at, which is a quick pace. It's supposed to burn like fire. It's a beautiful energy to work with if you're doing it correctly, but if you can manage it and steer it in a way that is for your highest good, it's really, really great to work through that quickly. So I think that's the only thing. I think I'm gonna jump to the questions. I see we have a few questions. So I'm going to start answering a few of those now. Thank you for listening to my story about my experience with Sekhmet and the Dark Goddess. Is really intense one. I felt really vulnerable to share, so it feels good to share about that. Okay. First, you're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. Okay, I'm going to start answering the question. I'm taking, let's see, I'm going to try to get right to the gut of the question. We have to earn money, sometimes in very standardized jobs, and it takes our energy. While we feel we want quietness, slowness, and time to actually practice more devotion and to be priestesses. How can we move towards that while we aren't independent entrepreneurs? Is there a middle ground between going professional and having a mundane job? I really love this question. Okay. Yes, there's absolutely not even a middle ground, but a starting ground now to have what it is that I think your heart is really hungry for. And I want to see which direction I want to go with this. This is a big topic. This is a big topic. First, I think that I want to make it clear tonight that being a modern priestess, in my definition of a modern priestess, there is no requirement whatsoever to have any sort of public service, and simply by being, your connection to your higher self, simply that alone is enough. There is no list of checkboxes of things that must be done to be a priestess, a modern priestess, or even my definition or anyone else's definition of that. What feels most important, I think, just before digging into this a little bit more deeply, is just that it is so important even for me, I would be happy even if I deleted my website, and I love doing, I mean, this is why this is free. I love doing this and I love showing up like this. It's very, very, very amazing. But what is most important to me as a priestess is simply making sure that that connection to my higher self is clear and open, and my I am comes through and forward in every moment. So when we get into these intricacies of, yes, we do have certain responsibilities in these lifetimes here, at least in the way that they exist right now. Priestesses walk into rooms everywhere, and I guess I'm just trying to say it doesn't need to look any way in particular. Doesn't need to look any way in particular. So when I get questions like this, we can absolutely jump to some of the tactical things. So there's a but I just want to make sure that it's really, really well understood by anyone who comes into contact with me or my work, that number one priority is establishing an intimate, dedicated relationship with your own higher self first. And that's before any of the ascended masters that I work with, any of the councils, the beings and natures, it's all so beautiful and we can access that. But what comes first is such a strong connection to our I am presence, that it is that I am presence guides you to the answers to questions like these tactical things, because your heart will tell you. So I'm just going to give an example of one woman who's in my mystery school. What she does is she goes to bed very early every night. She's a mother, and she goes to bed early and gets about 6.5 or 7 hours of sleep, and then gets up at 3 a.m. And then she's got her about 3 or 4 hour window where she gets things done. And there was a time where I was working in this way when I was a new mom, as I was getting up at 4, and that was my connection time and my clarity time and very, very quiet time. So that was where, because I'm probably like you, even though I have this I'm doing like a lot of this work online, there's very much part of myself that needs a lot of quiet and a lot of silence and a lot of alone time. So I was getting that in the morning initially. So, and that is what one of my students is, she's doing currently now, as she's still in her full-time job and wants, her passion to eventually take that over. But so it's really about negotiating the time that you do have. And another strategy that I've worked with, this was a one-on-one client. I'm not taking one-on-one clients at the moment, but one one-on-one client that I had was in this same, kind of asking these same questions and how we can move towards just being in more alignment with how we're spending our waking energy. And one of the things we found is we really sat down and looked at how she was spending every 30 minutes of her day that she was awake. Every 30-minute time slot. Where was her energy? Where was her will going? Who was getting her energy? And she was kind of, I think, surprised to see how many 30-minute time slots were going to things she didn't want to be giving her energy to. So this kind of ties in with another video that I made with Archangel Jeremiel, who I'm feeling a little bit right now. He helps us do a life review. So when we do these things, it's first making sure that actually that connection with your I am presence is like, that is it. And then second, when we start to work from that place and work from your heart, things just start, sometimes things can start to just naturally fall away. Like you won't want to be giving your time to so many apps on your phone. You won't want to be giving your time to, I don't know, like watching TV or whatever it is. It'll just kind of start to fall away when you're coming from this space, when you're thinking here. There's a lot of help that can come through in managing time. You know, we're all only given so much time here on planet Earth, so we want to make the most of every, however you want to do it, 30-minute time slot, hour time slots that you're looking at your day and how you're spending your time, and you want to make sure that all of that is serving you. And if that means showing up at your 9-to-5 job and that's serving you financially, then embrace it and be grateful for it and go into it with that attitude, and know that is, you are building yourself a bridge by doing that, by putting your energy there. So get excited about all decisions that you're making, and the more excited you can get about the decisions that you're making, the faster and more accelerated things start to go. Yeah, so, and this doesn't mean that, okay, so as women, right, we're not like the sun. We don't just like rise at the freaking like on the dot every day. We're more like the moon, where we come out, you know, once a month and we put on our beautiful hello and then we go back in and like need a glass of wine and to like not be around anyone. So work with your cycle, work with, are you a night person, are you a morning person? Work with, like, get really authentic with yourself, and don't set up mornings because you heard me say mornings. Check in with yourself and see what feels really authentic, because maybe it's that you can take a long lunch break, or maybe it's that you want to stay up late and wake up late, or whatever. So it's got to really work for you, and don't hold yourself to standards that feel kind of uncomfortable. You want to make sure you feel really excited about whatever it is that you decide to do. Okay, I hope that was helpful. Okay. You're welcome. Wonderful. Okay, so the next question is, hi Katie, I and many other priestesses have severe chronic pain issues. It can be very challenging to get out of bed, let alone empower other women and create the life I wish to lead. Have any of your mentors discussed this with you? I work with it from dietary, psychological, physical, and spiritual directions, yet it persists. At times I wonder if it's the modern day version of the sometimes tremendously rigorous tests of a priestess in an ancient mystery school. Thank you. Okay. So I did respond to this comment about, you know, the first woman that came to mind when I read this question was the work of Carolyn Myss and her book, Why People Don't Heal and How They Can. And if you haven't read that book, or Anatomy of Spirit, I would start there. I have a feeling maybe you've looked into that work. So please keep me updated in the comments if you haven't. I have found her work to be very helpful in understanding any physical ailments that I've had. So yes, thank you, Sam. Why People Don't Heal and How They Can. So that's a really wonderful book, because I think there's a lot of questions in that book that I would empower you to journal on. And if you aren't keeping up with a very regular journaling practice, and a journaling practice that feels incredibly safe for you, I would make sure that that is something that you're doing as well, because that's where our subconscious can do its healing. So, and a lot of the things that we don't understand consciously are, yeah, I would really, really recommend this book. I was flipping through it because I saw your question about an hour before going live. And that was the book that I grabbed. I've got a nice big library of really incredible text, and that was one that was really jumping out for you. I would read it, and there's many questions in that book that I would really encourage you to get a notebook and fill it with your writing. And I would say picking up a very rigorous journaling practice is going to be probably the fastest way to find the root of whatever it is that ails you. So I'm sending a lot of healing energy and seeing a lot of that. I'm just going to see it lift. And yeah, just see that lift and continue to see it lift. And journal. Journal. That's, yeah, I think that would be incredibly helpful for you. Okay, that, yes. Okay, another question. I'm just feeling very discouraged, as if nothing is happening at the moment, when I know things are happening. I know. How do I keep the faith alive and keep moving forward with trust? Faith and trust are always a choice. It's always a choice to be in faith or to be way too much here. You know, this is interesting. Hathor came to me. I'll just go ahead and read this now. Hathor, I didn't post this publicly. I just wrote it for myself. And it was all about faith. And it was when I needed faith. So I'm going to read this for you, Elizabeth. Let's see where this went. Okay, so it's kind of a rough draft, so I hope that this is good. All right, so, and this was on the 222 portal, which was last week, which was an interesting day because when you see the number 2, or multiples of 2, I believe in numerology, that's a big encouragement to keep your faith. Hathor told me if she could bottle up a magic potion for us to drink, the first ingredient would be faith. On this 222 portal, have faith that you are God. Have faith that there is no separation from yourself to the one infinite creator. Have faith that this is true for everything you can and cannot see. Have faith that it is safe to sink into that feeling of ecstasy, to know all that is well. You are allowed to play in the Garden of Eden now and not later. Have faith that your suffering is ultimately a choice. Have faith that Gaia agrees with me and requests for you to know more of yourself today. Have faith if you feel like I'm completely full of shit, I'm celebrating you listening to your intuition. Have faith if you stop judging yourself, you'll be given the keys to your freedom. Have faith that different endless doorways for your consciousness are a breath away. Have faith, I'm with you. Have faith, your greatest accomplishment is sitting with the person you already are. So I hope that that can be helpful, Elizabeth. Okay, the next question is, as a priestess, what do you feel your brother priests are missing, and how should they go about catching up or holding better space for the sisterhood? I can only speak from my experience that this year specifically, I put the prayer in motion for good men to fill my life, and that has been so the case. I only have beautiful, encouraging things to say about the awake men that I'm meeting, and oh, so many beautiful men in my life. So, I just I don't know, I guess I don't feel like it's maybe my place to speak to that. my partner, Ben, and father of my daughter, my beauty, I love him so much. He holds incredible space for me, and it's all that I really accept anymore. So I don't know, this question is kind of catching me off guard. Really all that we can do, I think, is to, you see our brothers missing brotherhood. Oh, well, that's up to the brothers. That is kind of for them to recognize and to meet around. So yeah, so I think I'll just leave that one there today. Okay, we ended up going 45 minutes or so, and I thought that this was going to be quite a quick hopping on and hopping off. You're welcome. And I want to thank you for being here. I am incredibly grateful for every one of you. This was really quite a highlight to my day to be able to come and to hopefully be of service and sharing my story and sharing my perspective. And I will be back next week. I invite you to join our Facebook group and continue these discussions in the group with those sisters and those priestesses coming into their own. We have some very powerful women there. So please join and introduce yourself. And until next week, I hope you have a very, very blessed week and all of your dreams are coming true. Thank you.